Hey Natasha, thanks for taking the time to be here today and share with us about your story. We were just recently talking about, your breakthrough and how it's been since. Do you want to give us a recap?
Yeah, I've the the experience right afterwards is so strong. It's so overwhelming. I felt, I don't know, I don't want to sound woo-woo, but I felt this intense, like, joy, calm, so just suddenly like hyper aware and observant. Um, and that intensity doesn't last for really 2 days and then a week and then peters out, unfortunately. um, but what remains is I still have a really different perspective on things. I kind of I don't, I used to be buried in my day to day. Whatever little thing would happen, I'd become consumed by it. Now I really see things from a higher level. It's more like, how does this factor in the scheme of things you know, rather than like being emotional about it needlessly. Um, and I also don't it's so weird. I don't take things as personally. Like even, you know, insults or arguments. My response is more, oh, what's happening with that person? Like what's going on in their life that they would react that way, rather than thinking that it was me that caused it. Um, and I was afraid. I didn't know. I have a service business, and I didn't know the direction that I would be taking to build on it. I always wanted to deal with software, but I was too afraid to. I felt like I didn't have the depth of experience that's needed. And after the session, I feel so like I'm going after it. I don't,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel great about it. Why would I wait, It's just this completely it's a different, like as I said, perspective. Um and it's exciting.
It is exciting
Yeah.
because you already have, or before you came to see me, you already had a very successful business,
Yeah.
and
Still
now
do.
still
I'm still
do,
keep
yes.
yes.
Well, that's my point, is that you're going from successful business to even, that you're really expanding now and doing things that you didn't dare before. And
Yeah.
how is this how are people around you relating, and how is your business shifting because of your breakthrough?
So people around me, it's funny now that I think about it. My relationships, I had a really my brother actually works for my business, and I had a really challenging relationship with him. um, and I have to say that it's happened so quickly. In the last week or two, um, we've had a very different tone with each other. And this goes back to what I mentioned previously. He made a mistake at some point. It was a pretty big mistake. And with my new perspective, I was like, mistakes happen. Let's figure out what we can learn from it and move on, which I never would have done before. No, it would have been like, oh my God, he's in his words, I would have bitten his head off.
Wow.
And he was so surprised and grateful by the way I responded. And I mean that's a big example, but somehow, really quickly our the tenor of our conversation has changed, and he's I don't know we're just more in sync now. He's gaining confidence already, more confidence than he used to have in his role. I think because I'm not as mercurial
Yeah.
as as I was. And it's crazy. It's crazy to think of how quickly that changed. I mean, and this is a relationship with my brother. We've had
Yeah.
it's really long, and you know, um, so that's changed. And for my business, we're still in the exploratory stages of the next phase. With the current business, I'll be growing that as well. So I used to really shy away from publicity. I didn't want to, and now I feel very differently about it. I feel like I'll definitely be ready for it. Sorry, that sounds
Sorry.
good.
Yeah, this sounds good.
Yeah. Let me try and raise. Maybe
There
is
we
that
go. We can.
better or
We can.
worse? I don't know.
Yeah, I can see you still.
Um, and Yeah, for example, I gave a presentation on Monday to a small group of entrepreneurs. I was nervous, it's not like I as if I wasn't nervous at all, but I didn't. It was also exciting, which it wouldn't have been before. It would have just been all nerves. And everyone really liked it, and they engaged with the topic, and they had these amazing stories to share on that same topic. I just feel like I I can be more open, even in that semi-public format now, than I used to, and that's really powerful because then you get that back from people.
Yeah.
And some people said, "Oh, this was my favorite session we've had," and yeah, so
That's really exciting. That's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
really exciting. So, where do you see yourself in a year from now with all the, having gone through the breakthrough, having gained all this confidence and connectedness um, and openness and daring. I mean, you have a lot of courage now. So you're
Yeah.
taking on this huge project that you were so fearful of before. So
Yeah.
where do you see yourself in a year from now?
In a year from now, I'm so sure. it's I don't want to be cocky, but I'm so sure that the project that I'm developing is going to really help. I work with authors, a lot of authors, and that I expect my business to double. I expect that we'll be, hiring a new employee in a couple of months. So, yeah, I think big changes are afoot.
That's great. So,
Yeah.
what what was your favorite part of going through the whole breakthrough process?
Um, it was really everything. If I can chart it,
Yeah.
the whole, it's like, oh,
Yeah, there you go.
comes to a head, at the very end. And that's when things come together. It's at the very end that I think right before we did the last technique, I was skeptical. I even asked you, does this work on everybody? Because I thought it's not going to work on me. um, and uh, and right after that, it's not, I didn't even know that something had changed. I wasn't even aware of it until you asked me a series of questions. And those questions were meant to, like, we had been through 10 hours of
Yeah,
talk.
it took
Um,
10 hours with you. That's
yes.
right.
So those questions, you knew my trigger points.
Yes, I
Those
did.
questions were meant to elicit, a lot of emotion, and they had previously. And then when you brought them up again, I felt nothing. I felt fine about them.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, oh, okay, something has happened. Wow, something, profound has happened, and I have to like figure out what exactly it is.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
and you got to take your new mind, your new mindset for a test drive that very weekend that you were out here visiting from New York out here in San Francisco, and you know you had an instant change, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. It was. I just instantly felt exactly what I was looking for, which was clarity, and 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 just and I mentioned, I don't know if you noticed it. I don't know if it's visible
It
because,
is
it's
visible.
okay,
Yes,
okay.
the thing is that your whole demeanor shifts when you release all of that baggage that has been preventing you from seeing things clearly. So it's as if you're just taking off this huge backpack of weight that you've been carrying around for so long, and of course you're gonna look differently. So
Yeah. I mean, I felt so different. I just there's this, I don't know, it's like, you know, before rarely I would be in a good mood, and then your perspective shifts, and you have so much energy. But that was like an intense version of that, and it lasted and lasted, and I thought, oh my gosh, I hope this never goes away.
good.
And I just wanted to spread the word. I was visiting a friend of mine after I saw you in Palo Alto, and when I saw her and her roommate, I said, "You guys have to go to Karenina. This is amazing." And this happened and that happened. Yeah.
That's amazing. So what tips would you give to, or first of all, what type of person or what type of entrepreneur would you recommend come see me and for what?
Um. So I actually have been recommending you to more than entrepreneurs. I
Oh,
know you
good.
won't
Yeah,
be an entrepreneur,
that's great.
but just honestly, um, I now I now notice, I think, or maybe I'm more aware of the problems that people have. I think before I just felt like people can't do anything about it. So why bother, dwelling on it? But it's as an example, a friend of mine has a really, really, she's an entrepreneur. She has a really, really demanding work life, and she feels like she doesn't have a choice. She really feels trapped by her life, and that's why I really want her to see you. There's another a friend of mine who's a lawyer, who is intensely unhappy with his profession, and he doesn't know where to go from there. I mean, he went to Stanford Law. He's spent all this money and
Yeah,
time achieving the position that he has, and these are really, really difficult problems.
yeah,
Um, and so people like that, people who feel like they're at a loss.
yeah.
But I have to say, you know, I came to you. I didn't have any serious issues. I wasn't at, some crazy fork in the road. I simply felt like I wasn't um, working at my optimal potential,
Mhm.
and I didn't know what was holding me back.
Mhm.
So I would say that it runs the gamut. Anyone from that side to who's at a really critical point in their life and doesn't know what to
Right.
do. Yeah.
Right. Excellent. And what tips would you give to someone else who's considering, who may be on the fence about going through this breakthrough process? What kind of tip would you give them?
I think it's really important to be open to it. And I say that as a person who is skeptical through the very end. But I think it's funny. After the experience, I was, even though I was going through it, I had to research the
Yeah.
hell out of like NLP, how the brain functions. I was just reading all this research
I
online
know you did some research on genes and DNA, and yes, yes.
on genes, how it affects, yeah, your DNA exactly. Because I was still skeptical. I had to understand the science behind it. Um, so I understand, someone who would be skeptical about working with you. But I think that it's such a, if you think about the benefits, I mean, what's the downside, you know, of the investment? That's it, your time. Um, it's well worth it when you look at it from a cost benefit perspective.
Yes. Because the things that you're going to be able to do now with this clear state of mind, your energy is laser focused now. You don't get into, you know, non-beneficial interactions with your
Yeah.
employees, people around you. You're more agile now that you have disconnected the things that were causing you to feel unclear, basically, and feel
Yeah.
like you weren't reaching your full potential. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm extremely excited to see how the software turns out. And thank you so much for taking the time today. And I look forward to continuing to support you, because that high that you were experiencing, it is achievable much easier, and it's possible to keep it going. So, I look forward to providing that for you as well.
Thank you so much for everything that you've already done. I
Oh,
mean, it's what you do is so important for people, and I'm just so happy that I was referred to you. The thing that the one sentence that got me to take action right away, from the person who referred me to you, was he said, um, he doesn't have any fear anymore. And I said, how long ago was it that you saw her? And he said, I think it was 8 months ago.
yeah.
And I said, and you still don't have any fears?
Yeah.
He said, no. And he's not, one to exaggerate. So that was it. I said, I've got to try this.
Yes.
And I'm so happy I did, because I mean, I have no words. I've said it all,
Oh
but
my gosh, wow.
yeah.
That's huge. It's huge. Thank you so much, Natasha, and the best of not only luck, because now you can actually apply your your skills and your talents and your fearlessness. So,
Yeah.
but I will be behind you every moment of it.
And one thing I do want to say as well, I think you mentioned this early on, was that, and you alluded to it earlier, was that it's really about doing the right things, as you said, working smart rather than hard, and this process facilitates that. Like, you're doing the things that are right for you, and you're more aware of, a lot of us avoid, doing the critical things because we're afraid of them, we're afraid of the results, so we kind of bury ourselves in, the minutia, and this really allows you to clear all that and really just focus on the things that you need to do.
Oh, wow, that's really powerful. That's really powerful. And now that you also know what your true core values are, in how helpful
That's
is
huge.
that?
That is so huge. When, and it's, as you mentioned, it's such an important decision making tool. When I decided, to do the software, I looked at my core values, and, to my shock, it was hitting like every single one of them,
Wow.
which, just made it so much clearer that this is what I should do.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for sharing that, because that's also really important. A huge part of this process is that you actually get to know yourself on a deeper level, so that
Yeah.
you can be more clear as an entrepreneur or as a business person or as, as a person who is here on the planet to do something important.
Yes.
So when you know your core values, you can go out there and you'll know every action that you take if it's in alignment with your values or not. And if it's not, ditch it. If it is, go for it. And
Exactly.
that's when you will just have endless power, energy, creativity, and inspiration, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.